break out the broom this morning. Get rid of some of this sawdust that's been piling up. And here I'm making a couple of nailing blocks. Just make a simple modification to a couple of the rafter tails that I cut off the trusses. And I'll show you what these will be used for a little bit. Sometimes you have to figure out how to do things by yourself. For me, it seems like that's most of the time. So on long sticks of lumber, handling things along pieces here, I have to come up with ways to create another pair of hands. So you can see what I've done here. Just took a piece of 2x4, screwed a piece of plywood with actually one of the gussets left over. Notice that I put a little shim in there to give this a little bit of outward lean, which gives me a little bit of clearance. And I'm going to put that right here. And you'll see how this comes into play here in just a minute. Alright, now you remember the two little pieces of rafter tails that I modified? That's going to go right here, right like this, flush with the end of the truss, same angle. The reason I like to do that, I hate splitting two boards coming together on this 3/4 inch surface. So I'll let the fascia board on this side come all the way over to the edge of the truss, so I'll get a full 1.5 inch bite, and then the one coming this way will come and meet it, and I'll have this surface plus I'm going to use those 4-inch screws, which will go into here, so I'll get plenty of bite on this. Okay, so here I'll have to rotate this out of the way so I can get to putting the screws in there. Here again is an example of what I showed you. Come right over here. Try not to fall down. So you don't want to put your screws right in like this. Right close to the end, because this will split for sure. I mean, it might anyway, because it's yellow pine. But come back at least 1.25 inches and put these screws in like that. See what a better bite you get, because it's plenty solid here, and you've got all this material out here ahead of your screw. See? See there, it's split anyway. See that? Which, again, yellow pine, it'll do that. Yeah, those screws are hardened metal. You don't need to blunt the tip on them. But even though it did crack, you've still got a lot more material out here than if you'd put them right over here and it'd split anyway. That would have made the case for pre-drilling a 1/8 inch hole right there. All right, we'll put our helping hands back up here. Get ready for the next piece. The reason I'm angling the bottom one up somewhat is to miss the groove we made for the polycarbonate to go up in there. Alright, no splits, no runs, no errors. See how much that's sagged down right there? Need a little persuasion. Now I want to show you another little trick right here. Now you've seen me use the leverage, to lift up. I don't need to do this here, but I just wanted to show you. Let's suppose this is sticking up quite a bit above this, and see I've already screwed the rest of it off. So there's only 24 inches here to be able to move, so there's very little flexibility in it. And so here's a trick that you can use as a lever to push it down. See there? Put that under there, and then look here. See how that goes down? You can even put a little block of wood under here if you got to go down further than that. Very simple little trick and very effective. You know, the Apostle Paul was preaching to the Jews there in Acts chapter 13, and he told them that in crucifying the Lord, they had fulfilled the scriptures, fulfilled the prophecies, and the reason that happened was, he says, because they didn't know the voices of the prophets. And I can't help but wonder if we're not guilty of crucifying the Lord afresh by not studying the Old Testament prophecies, not knowing the voices of the prophets, and then saying that Jesus didn't return when he promised that he would in his generation, the generation that would witness the raising of the Jewish temple. And that's what he said. Because the Apostle Paul said in Acts chapter 26 that his doctrine of the resurrection, his eschatology, was nothing more than what Moses and the prophets taught. Nothing more than what they predicted. And Paul preached out of the Old Testament scriptures just like Peter did on the day of Pentecost when he said, "This is that was spoken by the prophet Joel." They preached out of the Old Testament scriptures. They didn't have the New Testament to preach out of. They preached out of the Old Testament scriptures. So I think we do a great disservice to the scriptures as well as our understanding of the scriptures, New Testament, by not understanding the Old Testament, by not understanding the voices of the prophets. And that's why I believe that so many people in the church are misinformed and will categorically deny the very words of Jesus when he said that he was coming back in his generation. You know, James wrote there in chapter 5, he said the coming of the Lord is at hand. James 5 and verse 8. Verse 7, he told them to be patient unto the coming of the Lord. Why would he tell them, the diaspora, the Jewish Christians, why would he tell them to be patient until the coming of the Lord if the coming of the Lord wasn't going to happen in their lifetime? And James used the exact same terminology that John used preaching the kingdom at hand. Matthew chapter 3. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The exact same Greek term and the exact same Greek tense. And if the kingdom was at hand, and it was, then how was the coming of the Lord not at hand? Basic linguistics, folks. We've got to pay attention to the scriptures and allow Scripture to interpret Scripture.